Hi, Anant. Thank you so much for helping with my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi Nathan. I am Anant, and I currently work at Anaplan, and that's how I know you as well. So I graduated with a bachelor's degree from the University of Minnesota in May 2020. After that, I was working with a small startup for some time, and then for a few months, and then since July 2021, I've been working in Anaplan. Yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
What are some of your hobbies and interests?
So, starting with my interests, I think I really like watching sports. Since I've been in the US, I've also been dwelling into sports like football. I'd say more of basketball and things like that. Mainly, I like watching soccer. Um, as far as my hobbies go, I like to do photography from time to time. And as you would have previously known, I have a keen interest in airplanes, learning more about them. I'm still in the process of I'd say moving further with that interest. But yeah, those are some of my interests and hobbies.
I've been trying to understand what makes people excited and what makes people interested in various things. And a
Mhm.
lot of people are interested in sports.
Right.
I was wondering if maybe you had any thoughts on why sports attracts you.
So I think there are various factors to it. I think most importantly, maybe it's the thrill for people and for me as well. It's the thrill that comes with the game. um, I think there are various aspects to it, players playing, maybe big names playing, and then the things associated with them. Then also then I think I personally have memories as well. So I used to play soccer in high school, and from there I started watching it. So I think that was also a part that made me so interested in it. And also I think more importantly, I think video games have also made a huge impact on popularity of sports and how people watch it or maybe play it. So I actually forgot to mention this, but I also play video games from time to time, and these video games are mostly sports based. So as long as I can remember that I've been playing soccer, I also can remember that I've been playing the FIFA video game, which is the soccer video game. So yeah, I think they have also done a pretty good part in making sports more popular, and that could also be one of the reasons that maybe people and me are interested in sports.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's my 7 o'clock alarm. I just make sure I got here. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but how much of the fact that the unpredictability of the sports, the fact that
Like,
anything could happen, is
yeah. Yeah.
what what a how important is that in terms of maintaining your interest?
Um, I think that is pretty important, and I think that is part of the first thing I mentioned, the thrill part, because you don't know anything could happen, and I think a big part of them are upsets when the favorite teams don't win,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think that's definitely a very big part of it, and I think that's what make people watch the game more often or more frequently as well. Because even if a team, so for example, in the world of soccer, there are some games where there are two legs to a game, which is a home game and an away game. So so even if a team is down bad in the first leg of a game of a tie, people would still watch the second leg because anything could happen, and maybe the other team just thrashes the other team with a higher score, and they would just take the whole tie home, and they would win it. So yeah, I think that's definitely a big part of it as well.
Yeah, I was thinking watching somebody paint a fence may not be so interesting, but then having two different people painting fences and seeing who
Exactly.
beats whom might be make it a lot more exciting.
Yep. And also that kind of makes me think that so I'm not sure about this hypothesis, but I just like this thought just crossed my mind that are individual sports maybe less popular than team sports? Because just thinking about it right now, I think the most popular sports that maybe come to my mind are team sports as of now. Um, and I think this is a very personal thought as well. Also because I think I have mainly played team sports, and I have not dwelled much into individual sports. So I'm not sure if this is true, but yeah, this is just something that came to my mind because you said about one person doing something and then two people doing something, which just adds, I think, much more of maybe like an uncertainty kind of aspect to it, and more of a human aspect to it as well, where maybe more people can relate to it. And yeah.
Yeah, no, it's kind of interesting. Like with the individual sport, your fan base really is limited by the length of time and scope of that individual's career.
Right.
Whereas with a team sport, the team could last for indefinitely, generations, right?
Yep.
So, like, I could still support and be excited about the team that my great grandfather was excited about.
Right.
And, while none of the players are the same,
Right.
uh,
Exactly.
somehow I'm connected to my grandfather or something
True.
like that.
True. Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. And also, I think so. Maybe in a team, for example, if there are 11 players, you could be a fan of any one player and support that team. But in order to maybe support an individual who's playing an individual sport, you need to be specifically, I think, supporting that particular player. And yeah, that's how you probably support that player. But in like a sports team, you could support one player and then support the whole team.
Do you ever watch a TV show called Shark Tank?
Yeah. I have watched that show, and coincidentally, recently, an Indian version of that show was also released, named Shark Tank India. So it was exactly the same as well. So I was also just going over what the concept was of Shark Tank and how maybe the Indian version was different from it, and things like that. So yeah, definitely, I've heard and I've been through those episodes.
And what level of interest do they spark? I mean, is it like something that you're like, oh, that was fun to watch, but if I catch it on, great, but not, or is it something you're like, man, I'm gonna watch every episode?
So to be honest, I have not watched every episode, and it maybe does not spark that much of an interest. I'd say it's definitely interesting to watch the kind of ideas people come up with, and more than that, I think it's also how the sharks react to it and what feedback they give. So I think that's the interesting part, but I won't say that I watch every episode or I'm very deeply into it.
I wonder if people who watch Shark Tank, if how much interest they have depends upon how they can envision themselves being on the show, if that's like a factor.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes sense. That maybe if someone is into that field, or maybe if they want to, be there, or maybe if they are an entrepreneur, then definitely that would maybe make more sense for them and make them more enthusiastic about it. Uh, but maybe for someone who is not really thinking about those things in that present moment, maybe they will not be able to connect with that show in that way, where a person who's wanting to be there and maybe pitch something to the sharks would connect with the show.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the same thing is probably true of those game shows as well, like Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy and,
Right.
um, The Price is Right, all those
Mhm.
things. So,
Right, exactly. Yeah, I really haven't seen too much of those shows. Like I'm aware of the concept, but yeah, I haven't really watched those shows. Like, I feel like some people are really into those shows, and I think they like follow it as like very like religiously. But yeah, personally, I am not much into those shows. But yeah, again, I am aware of the concept, and they're fun to watch from time to time for me, but maybe not every day.
Um, you also mentioned you were interested in photography.
Yeah.
How long have you been interested in photography?
So I'm actually not sure when this interest exactly started. I'm also not sure where I get it from. Uh, but it has been an interest for as far as I can remember. Um, so yeah, I don't have a definite timeline, but definitely a lot of years. But I have definitely been working on it more recently than the previous few years. So maybe for the past 3, 4, 5 years, I've been uh, I've been trying to do more of it. So yeah, I think that would be a good timeline to put there. But yeah, exactly not sure when this started, but definitely it's been more relevant for me in the past 4 to 5 years.
And what are things that you like to take photos of?
So I'm not exactly sure if I have a specific area where I like to capture pictures. I'd say it's morely just things you see in daily life. So, for example, yesterday it was raining outside. So I was just walking outside and I saw this reflection on the ground of tall buildings in downtown. So that was just something that I found interesting, and I clicked a picture of it. So it's mostly just things you see in your daily life. Maybe like a bunch of trees, maybe snow falling, sunset, sunrises, so things like that. I'd say things related to the nature. Maybe that's a good way to put it. But specifically, I don't have like a specific area where I like to capture pictures or maybe use my camera. But yeah, it's more like a general interest kind of thing.
Now, do you usually use your iPhone, or do you have a special camera to take photos with?
Right. So I have definitely thought about this a lot, but right now I only use my iPhone. But I have never been able to convince myself enough to get an actual camera. Part of that is also because nowadays phone cameras have become so good that they are almost reaching the level of a professional camera. And then secondly, I feel that I do not capture pictures or I do photography that often that I would need a camera. Maybe I mean that's totally like a personal opinion, but still I feel maybe if I was more into photography, then I should probably get a camera. But right now, I think the iPhone does a good job. So right now I'm just using my iPhone. I'm content kind of with the pictures that come out from the iPhone. But maybe in the future, if I have to get a camera for maybe things where there's like a lot of zoom required, maybe there's more of like distance involved in the shoot, or maybe I need more clarity or things like that. Then I might consider getting one. But right now, I just use my iPhone.
Yeah, and Apple's been really making the point about how good their camera is by taking pictures on their iPhone and blowing them up to billboard size, and they look really good. So,
Yep. Yeah, we're getting better.
and also you always have your phone with you. So if your point is to take pictures of, kind of like these surprise moments in everyday life, the chances of you having your camera with you is probably very, low if you had like a special camera, but your iPhone you would have with you. So.
Right. And I think that was also a huge point that I thought about while considering getting a camera, that you can't really carry your camera everywhere. Maybe you can carry it in a bag or things like that. But for example, if you're just going to the grocery store and while you're going to the grocery store, you see maybe a very like pretty bird or like maybe like a very pretty like pet of someone, then you can't really then you don't have your camera to take your picture, but you always have your phone, as you said. So yeah, you can just maybe take out your phone and click the picture. Whereas with the camera, it would take a lot of time. And also, from my personal experience, sometimes the window to capture the picture is not that much. So maybe I won't have the time to take out my camera from my bag, maybe set it up and take the picture. Whereas the phone is just one click and you are in the camera app and you can capture it right from there.
And you're also then one click away from sharing it with somebody, or and you can do all the editing and filtering and stuff and composing on the phone. It's amazing. I mean, I think it's smart.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
But well, did you know that NASA is planning to send astronauts to the moon again for the first time since 1972?
Yeah. So I was actually aware of this through a project I did. It was called ARSSDC/ISSDC, which are the Asian Space Research Programs and the International Space Research Programs. So during those projects, while I was researching for them, I discovered about the Artemis Project. And to be very honest, I have not followed up with them for a long time, because this project I did was in high school in the year 2015-16. So yeah, I was really reading into it during that time. So I did discover about this project, but as I said, I haven't really followed up since then. But yeah, I'm kind of aware that NASA is planning on doing that, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it has been delayed multiple times, if I'm not wrong. And I think the idea has been there for a while, but I think we're just waiting for it to be executed. And if I'm not mistaken, it might be this year, if I'm not wrong.
Well, this year they plan to do the Artemis One launch, which has been delayed a whole bunch of times. That's true. Which is an uncrewed launch of the Space Launch System in the Orion capsule that in Artemis 2 will actually take them around the moon, 4 astronauts around the moon. But I think the current targeted date that I saw was in June. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that happens. And anyway, so I hope so.
Right. Yeah.
And so, what other things that these groups do? They have very interesting names. International Space Research Group and Asian Space Research Group.
So just to clarify, I'll get through the whole full form. So it's the Asian Space Settlement Design Research Competition.
Yes, this is with like Gail and
right.
David Shavant.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I know them.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I think we previously discussed this as well, that I think you've met them somewhere, or you know them from your previous jobs, I think, but I'm not sure about the connect. But yeah, it's the same project, and I was fortunate enough to first participate in the Asian part of it, and from there we went on to the international part of it, and the finals were actually held in the Kennedy Space Center. So that was a really interesting project that I went through, and that involved some rigorous research about things, about space, about the current things that are happening, about future prospects. So it was mostly a futuristic view of settlements in the space. So yeah, essentially we had to design a space settlement, but based in the future, and then come up with ideas, come up with structures, and how all those things will work on specific planets and on specific moons in the solar system.
That is interesting. Do you remember much about your business or what you did in that project?
Right. So just to give you and everyone like a background of it, there are mainly 4 to 5 departments that students are divided into. So there's structures, there's operations, there's automation, there's human resources, and then there's business. So I was in the operations department. So I was in the operations department since the very first round of the whole competition. Yeah, so it was pretty interesting, and in operations it was mainly how things will work on the settlement. So maybe how air will be coming in, how air will be going out, how the air will be processed to get the required oxygen, how water supply will work, how the electricity supply will work. So yeah, it essentially dealt with the logistics and working of the whole settlement, the operations part. And then similarly, structures dealt with the structural components. Automation dealt with maybe like cars and those kind of like robos on the settlement. So during that time, the automation team was thinking of adding self-driving cars and things like that. And like today, they're a reality on Earth. So I'm pretty sure they can be a reality on the settlement as well.
So what are some things that you found particularly fun and interesting about that contest?
So to be very honest, before I signed up for the contest, it was mainly fascination with space and how unknown the world is, at least to me. How I was not very sure about how this thing would actually work over there, and I think that was my main motivation. That how would we create a whole new world in space and maybe like on a different planet, and I think that was one of the main things that started my interest in this competition, and that's how I got into it. And as we moved through the rounds, I think my understanding about settlements and about space grew over time. Yeah.
Well, I guess based upon what you learned there and just your personal research and interest, do you think there's going to be a point where humanity it moves beyond the Earth, that there actually will be settlements in other places?
So do you mean fully move away from Earth?
Oh, no. We'll have people on Earth, but in addition to Earth,
Okay. I think yes. I'm not sure when though, but I think yes. So I think if we are able to send people to the space and to other planets, I think we might not be that far from establishing them there. I know there are a lot of challenges that come with it, but I think we can do it, and especially I'd say on the pace that we are going in terms of research, development, and those kind of things. I think that there's definitely a chance that that happens in the future.
When you think about the future and getting there,
Mhm.
what do you think is the most likely way that such a development happens? Like, what do you think would trigger, or what would it take to actually create that?
So if you say what would trigger it, it might be from my personal view that things start getting worse on Earth. As we can see, global warming is already a thing. So I'm not sure if that's a relevant thing enough to trigger it, but I think that could be something that triggers it initially, and maybe that could be something that people start thinking of from. Um, so that's one thing that comes to my mind immediately. And of course, I think just people want to, I think, do that. A lot of people are interested in doing that. Other than anything triggering it, I think a lot of people just have that as their interest, of maybe sending more and more people to the space, maybe making them live there as well. So yeah, I think these are the two main things that I can think of. Uh, if you're looking for something specific, maybe if you could rephrase your question, because I think I wasn't able to like fully understand it. But yeah, these are the two main things that when you say what could trigger sending people to to space, these are the two main things that come to my mind.
Well, okay. It's a very broad topic, and I was just kind of curious on where you would take it. But
Mhm.
if we maybe try to boil it down to some questions to sort of probe there's some different aspects of it. Do you think it would be sort of something that would be done by one country, or like a combination of countries? Would it be done by government or private enterprise or some type of combination? Like, how would you see a settlement on another planet? Kind of.
So from what we are seeing right now, I think it could be done by private entities as well. I'm not sure if combining more, or maybe companies, or maybe more governments will help it. I'm assuming it will help, because more people, more smart people working together will definitely give rise to more ideas, more maybe possibilities. So from what I think, in reality, it would probably be done by one entity, maybe one company, or maybe so okay, not maybe one, but individual. I should say individual companies or individual governments. But I also feel that if more companies and more people come together and do it, it might be more fruitful for future prospects. But again, I think there are a lot of maybe political, a lot of personal agendas that go into it, a lot of complexities connected with it. So I'm not sure how feasible that would be. So that's why I lean towards maybe people doing it individually, companies doing it in separately. So yeah, I think that would be like the initial the initial like makeup of things, where different people and companies are trying to do the same thing of maybe sending more and more people to space.
Um, I was wondering what you thought about Elon Musk. You mentioned autonomous cars. I presume you know that he has a rocket company as well.
Hmm. SpaceX.
And I was wondering if you knew that he planned to build a million-person city on Mars by 2050.
So I was not aware of the last part, but yeah, as I previously said, if he wants to do it, I think that definitely falls into what I kind of like previously mentioned, that maybe not immediately, but maybe in the next few years, this might be a possibility where we are sending more and more people to space. And again, this is more like, I feel, an individual who's trying to do it. So this I think definitely makes sense. I think he's making good progress in that space, and like not like in space, but like in that space. Uh, but yeah, I think he's one of the pioneers in that industry, at least from my personal view. He's been doing a lot for at least that at least for the space. And in addition to that, I think he's also been doing a lot of other things. I have seen a lot of conflicting views, definitely on social media and things like that. But when I referred to the part where I said that some people are just passionate about doing that, and that's what interests them, I think I was specifically kind of talking about Elon Musk and similar people. where they have probably made it their personal agenda to achieve these kind of things, and as you said, send more people to Mars by 2050, and maybe have a colony over there as well. So yeah, I personally have positive opinions about what Elon Musk is doing and about what his different companies are doing. Recently, he also launched Starlink, which I also think is a great thing, and it'll probably advance more in the future. So yeah, as I said, I personally have positive opinions about him, and these things really make me curious about what's going to happen, and these are the things that probably I and maybe more people also base their assumptions and maybe view a picture of what's going to happen in the future from.
Well, with your experience on the settlement design competition, you might be one of the more qualified people to answer this.
Mhm.
What would it take to build a 1,000,000-person city on Mars by 2050?
So to be honest, I'm not sure about the first part where I'm a qualified person to answer that. But yeah, I'll definitely try to maybe give some of my insight on what I think. So to be honest, before I was in that competition, I did not know how difficult it was to actually achieve that. um, there are definitely a lot of things that we do not think about right now, um, which need to be done in order to achieve that. The most basic thing being getting oxygen on outer space planets, and so that's where my doubts come in, that that how are all these things gonna operate in space, and that too, that and operations comes before a lot of things as well. Like you need to have that structural component over there, and all the facilities before things start operating. So if you ask me how difficult it is to do that, I personally feel it is pretty difficult to do that. um Again, like I feel I'm not exactly sure about how it will be done, or if it will be done by 2050, as you said. Uh, and as you said, 1 million people by 2050 is definitely a very huge number to think of. So I'm not sure if that will be achieved by 2050, but definitely, I think that is definitely a possibility, but I'm not sure about the exact timeline, because we are already 2022, so we have like 28 more years to achieve that. And even though I think that does sound like a lot, and I think it is a lot as well. Uh, but yeah, I'm not exactly sure about how the timeline will look, and if we'll be able to do that by 2050. I'm also curious about what you think. If you think we'll be able to send 1 million people and maybe establish them there by 2050.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think before answering that question, I'd like to make some observations. One is, in 1901, the Wright brothers flew a heavier than aircraft for the first time that we know of in recorded history.
Mhm.
How long do you think it was between that moment and the time that we had the first 1,000,000 commercial airline passengers?
So you mean one airline flying 1 million people?
Oh, no, no, just 1,000,000 people have actually flown. So we went from having like the Wright brothers to 1,000,000 people that have actually flown. I wonder what that timeline looks like.
I'd say 1925.
I mean, very possibly. I haven't done any research yet. So, but I mean, the thing is, you talk about flying. I mean, I'm not sure how many airline passengers there are a day, but I think there's more than 1 million airline passengers a day, probably,
Definitely.
across the world.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing. And then, we were just talking about the iPhone. I was reading this book called Stuck at the Airport, and it was like all these things to do if you're stuck at the airport. And it had a listing of various airports and things. It was written in 2001.
Okay.
So before the iPhone, before Wi-Fi was even like really widely available. And it was talking about how this terminal had phones with data ports.
Okay.
So you could actually plug your phone into your
Right.
computer into the phone. And I was just thinking, the iPhone itself, you go back 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, the not everybody had iPhones then, but now we do.
True. True. Yeah. Yeah, I think I was also thinking in the same sense about how far. So because I said we have 28 years, so I was just trying to think how far behind we were 28 years ago. Like what things did we achieve, and then maybe if we could compare that from what we have now, then maybe we could get an idea of what's going to happen in the future. But then I kind of refrained from doing that because I think the level of growth in today's world is not the same which was there in the last 28 years. I'm sure the pace has increased from what it was during the last 28 years. I wasn't really sure if that would be the correct uh, similarity to make. But yeah, we can definitely get an idea of how things have evolved and how things have changed by maybe looking at the past 28 years and then thinking, oh, like that was like nothing, because as you said, we had like data ports and maybe Wi-Fi, and mobile internet wasn't a thing a few years ago. But now these are things that probably we just feel that they will be there. We are like, okay, like this is like these are like basic things right now, which we sometimes also take for granted. And yeah.
But then you have other things like in the early 1960s, we had the first person orbit the Earth. By 1969, we had people walking on the moon.
Mhm.
By 1972, we had the last person walk on the moon. And
True.
and and now we're kind of stuck in low Earth orbit. So obviously progress is not uniform. There's some things that
Right,
progress really fast, some
right,
things that take steps backwards, and a lot of things that just kind of flounder in their current state.
right. So I have one question for you. Why do you think so? I have read a lot of theories, a lot of articles about this, but why do you think we stopped sending people to the moon or maybe other planets so early in the last century?
Um, I think largely, maybe it comes back to the sports thing. Um, I think people were really scared in the U.S. whenever the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, and you
Mhm.
had the satellite overhead beeping, and we couldn't put anything into orbit, and
Mhm.
so it felt really scary. So we had to catch up. Um, and then also, we had a lot of, I guess, political setbacks. Um, like Cuba, and with things in the um, around the world, Russia really making lots of advances at that time. And so, the idea of putting something on the moon was meant to kind of show that we're we're technologically more superior.
We can do it, kind
We
of.
can do it.
Mhm.
Uh, and so I think that is the story that most people um, understood and supported.
Mhm.
So I think after we landed on the moon, what may be more surprising is not that we stopped after the sixth time of landing somebody on the moon, but that we actually did it the second time.
Right. Yeah.
So obviously, the reason we do things needs to be clear to people, and unfortunately, space travel mystifies a lot of people. They you know you have the whole wide range of people, from people saying it's pointless and useless to, we have problems on Earth to, it's just billionaires spending their money in crazy ways. There's really not the sense that's widespread of humanity going out into the universe and exploring. Like there's no great communal hunger for humanity to go and explore and expand. And I think really I think ultimately if advancing out into the cosmos is something that we want to do, we need to figure out some way to kind of make that part of our culture. But it may not be something that we can do until it's done. A lot of people in 1901 would probably never imagine flying on a plane. To them, it looked like a kite with an engine and a person that's about to die, all together. But once you see airplanes and everybody else is doing it, why not? We're very much as a society. I think the first person to talk on a portable phone, people were like, "That's so weird," walking around talking on a phone. It's like Bluetooth. At first it became weird, then it became cool, and then it sort of just became this thing that we sometimes use and not use. So I think once we have people living on Mars, it'll definitely take away that it's an impossible type of thing.
Right.
And so that will open up some stuff. And then I mean, it's just like, why is there a city in Nevada in the middle of the desert that people go to? It's just like, once you've like created it and people go and they're like, oh, this is cool. You're like, oh, it's cool. Ultimately, people don't know what to think about things without talking to other people.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it takes kind of visionaries and crazy people who are really committed to making something happen, to actually creating the foundation, and then everybody kind of hops on once they see it's worthwhile.
Right, exactly. But I think there are. I'm not sure actually, but at least from my personal perspective, I'm not sure if anyone will be disinterested in exploring that part of our universe. I feel at least personally for me, it's a pretty exciting thing. Taking off from Earth and then going to a foreign body where you're not aware of almost like anything. I'm sure like before, if I ever go, I'll be taught and I'll learn more about it. But just the idea of going away from Earth, taking off from Earth, and then going somewhere else is definitely something that excites me. It's probably flying in a plane raised to the power of 100, I think. You're flying in a plane at like 35,000 feet, 30,000 feet, but this is so many kilometers away from the Earth.
Yeah. So if it was safe and affordable, you would take a trip to space?
I think definitely. I think that's like a no-brainer, I'd say. If it was an option, and if all possibilities allowed me and everything like aligned, I would definitely go to space.
And so how far would you go? Would you just go to orbit? Would you spend like a week or two going to the moon? Or do you think you might immigrate to that 1 million person city on Mars?
I think so. As you previously said, that it takes someone to take away that impossible part, and actually not even that. I think once people start doing it, other people will probably feel more comfortable with it. So I'm not sure if I will be the first few people to do it, but yeah, I think those things will come more with experience with other people's experience. So I'm not exactly sure if I have the answer to that right now, that if I would like to just settle there. But I would definitely like to maybe visit the settlement.
Yeah, just to put you at ease, there's no legal commitment by answering this question.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You can change your mind later.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, but I think I would definitely maybe go there for a vacation if that's a possibility. You know, if those 1 million people start having something like Airbnbs over there, or things like that, that would definitely be a good start for me, and definitely a lot of other people to start exploring.
Now, imagine this, your ancestors, they do end up, some of them end up in that million person city on Mars. And, you know, several generations from now, your great, great, great grandchild who's grown up on Mars her entire life is now in high school, is in history class, and is
Right.
doing a paper on the 2020s.
Right.
And she comes and sees this video to get some idea of what the 2020s were like, you know, so she can make an A on her paper.
Right.
What would you share with your great, great, great grandchild
About the 2020s.
about this time, kind of looking in the future back at this time?
So I'd definitely firstly describe it as a time of immense and intense development. This was probably the time when we started thinking about those kind of things. So maybe this was the starting point. Um, so some things might have started indicating towards that we would probably need to have a settlement somewhere else other than Earth. Uh, Definitely, I think a pandemic would be a big part of it. Not related to that part of things, but definitely a factor that a lot uh, a lot of things would be considering it in. Um, yeah, I think 2020s would be like that starting point where we start thinking about these kind of things, and then maybe taking more action about them. And the recent developments, the recent experiments, projects that are going on in this space would also be a pretty big part of it. So yeah, I think we have a lot of the 2020s and a lot of things to come in this decade. uh, but yeah, I think the first few years definitely define, I feel, the progress in a very good way, that the first few years will be the first few years of development towards our final goal as well. So I think we still have a lot of things to see and to observe what happens in the future, but this is definitely a very good start to everything. And I personally feel positive about it. um, I'm not sure how others feel about it, but I see a lot of good things coming, and a lot of exciting things coming in the future.
I do too. I do too. I think the 2020s are going to be to space what the 1990s were to the internet. So it's going to
Mm.
be kind of
Right, right.
exciting
Yeah.
time.
I think even apart from space, I think a lot of exciting things should come in the 2020s, because uh, thankfully, I think at least in the technology space, we are definitely growing pretty fast. New things come out every day that we can explore, that we can indulge in. So I think there are still a lot of exciting things, new things to come. So yeah, definitely with space, but even with a lot of other things, we are going to experience some nice things that I think everyone will have interest in. There'd be different things probably for everyone's interest as well, not just in one domain. So that would also I think, ensure development and maybe advancement of all kinds of people.
Well, Anant, I really appreciate your time. That's pretty much all the questions I had. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about, or any questions for me?
Yeah, so just during this conversation, it came to my mind that what is your opinion on? I'm sure you've heard a lot of theories about how the moon landing did not happen. So yeah, just curious about that part. I personally uh, do not feel that. I should not phrase it in that way. I personally feel that it definitely did happen. That definitely people landed on moon, and I personally do not think there's anything fake about it, but I would also like your opinion on it. So my guess is that your thoughts are the same, but I would like your opinion on why there is doubt about it, and um, yeah, just maybe why people think that way.
Yeah, I've talked to several people who don't believe the moon landings happened. Two of them, the thing that they kind of based their reasoning on was the quality of the picture that we got back
Mm.
from landing on the moon. They thought that, just basically, how could we have such poor quality pictures and things like that. And I talked to another person who was a flat earther. So in his world, going to the moon is not a possibility, which I guess that's strictly isn't a limitation of flat earth theory.
Right.
But my personal thinking about it is several different levels. One is, I think losing something is painful. And as a society, losing a capability has some type of collective pain about it. And anytime you experience pain, you're going to do something that's reactive to that pain. And some of those things are harmful and some of those things are helpful. And I think us stop going to the moon, and the people who missed the moon landings, to some degree, maybe they experience some type of pain to various degrees from that. And it's a lot less painful to say I didn't miss anything by saying it didn't happen.
Right.
And we didn't lose anything because it didn't happen. Than it is to say that we lost this capability, we missed it. So at a deep, psychoanalytical, social, level, I think there's a little bit of that driving it. I doubt you would go to any Apollo denier and say, hey, do you feel pain that you missed the Apollo landings? None of them are going to say yes, right? But also at the same token, people have medical conditions and they wouldn't ascribe to those they wouldn't confess or attribute those medical conditions to behaviors that look directly linked to it either. Like a smoker who has trouble coughing, as an example, that coughing has something to do with everything else other than the smoking.
Mm.
Something like that.
That
So I think that's part of it. Also, we live in a society where people want attention and to crave attention. And how better to crave attention, to get attention, than to say that you know something that nobody else knows, and that it's like you're like, I know the real truth. The real truth is we didn't go to the moon. It's because of this and this and this, And also another thing is people are very tribal. They want to join groups, and the membership join groups could be as easy as just showing up to meetings, paying a membership fee. Maybe you have to get a tattoo or cut off a finger or something. For other groups, maybe it's contorting yourself to believing something like we didn't go to the moon. So those are basically three different theories I have, with a few little other tidbits tossed in. I mean, you believe we went to the moon. I believe we went to the moon. yet we're talking about people who don't believe we went to the moon. Why are we
Right.
doing that? We're doing that because it surprises us,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that also concurs with your second point, where you said that people like um, I'm not sure about the exact word you used, but I think it was people like attention. So this is also probably adding to the attention part, where we are discussing that, and even though we don't believe that, we are dwelling into that space, and then maybe thinking about it, and even thinking about that if it happened or not. So yeah, I think that also matches with your second point as well. And just my last question. So because you asked me that if I would go and settle on Mars, or maybe some other body in our solar system or in our universe, I would also like to ask you the same question. Would you do it if you were given an opportunity?
Yeah. Well, my answer that I give right now probably doesn't matter since I don't have the opportunity. The question is, right before you board that ship, would you still take that next step? Um, I, you know, I one, I have mixed feelings about that, right? One thing is, I got the job at NASA, which I wasn't surprised, I wasn't planning on doing. But I'm really glad it's happened. My time there has been amazing. It's been great, and I'm just like have like a whole new level of satisfaction about life and work and kind of the direction my career went because of that. Um, and the idea of being a part of sort of the next step of humanity branching out into the rest of the solar system, you know, gives a sense of meaning to life that's very historical feeling. Just like those first people that came from Europe to North America, and just like the people that came from the East Coast to Texas. That there's a sense of, and like my dad, he's the place where he lives, he says it's been in the family for like 200 years, so that offers a lot of meaning to him. And he talks a lot about the ancestors and all this good stuff. So I can see at some point, life is, you're burning it up as you go along. And what better way to kind of go out than to do something historical like that.
Right.
But the other thing, the thing is, if you're not physically up to it, you might be a debit instead of a credit
True.
for the experience. So I don't know. I can see myself saying both things.
Right. I see. Yep. Definitely. That makes sense.
Well, Anant, thank you so much again. I hope you have a good rest of your Sunday.
Thank
And
you.
if you know
Thank-
anybody else that you want to have a conversation, I have over 1,000 more to go through.
Of course, yeah. So what I was thinking was that maybe my team from the ISSDC competition, I'll definitely recommend that uh, to them, and that will also not a very big part of it, but maybe people from different departments will have different opinions about things as well, and maybe the what I said will be very different from what they think. And I think that'll be a great opportunity as well, and always very nice talking to you. So I'm sure they also have a very nice time just discussing these things with you.
That would be fantastic. I would greatly appreciate that. And
Right.
if you ever come to Houston, give me a call.
Of course, yeah. So I was actually there in Houston, but this was before I joined Anaplan. But yeah, I so coincidentally, the first city I ever visited in the US was also Houston, which was back in 2004 because one of my uncles lived there. So coincidentally, yeah, I visited Houston, and I also went to the space station over there, which was also very exciting thing. Maybe those experiences which I had at such an early age, because I was 6 years old. back then. So maybe those initial experiences in my life actually maybe maybe sowed that seed in me to have curiosity and interest relating to these things. Maybe that's where my interest of airplanes also comes in from, because even though they're not the exact same thing, they have some level of flying involved in them, some level of going above the earth. So yeah, but yeah, for sure, if I'm ever in Houston, it'll be a really nice opportunity to meet you. I'll definitely hit you up if I'm ever there in Houston.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the plane bit because the second letter in NASA stands for aeronautics.
Right.
So, NASA actually does flying research, and that type of thing. So, but yeah, no, I look forward to it. So, well,
Yeah.
very good. You have a good rest of your day, and thank you again so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having this conversation. It was really nice talking to you.
Likewise. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Bye.